Hi guys, it's Mike here. Bit of IMG for you. So today we are gonna look at genre. Now I'm not gonna spend an hour talking to you about genre. You know enough about genre now to understand the concept of hybrid genres, and to understand that games are kind of unique in doing that, and also to understand the things you are looking for in a genre. Now the cool thing is about when you make a game, you kind of get to define its genre, and the press around your game will define its genre for you too as well, if there's things you've forgotten. And often you'll find unique selling points. For example, in my game Power Up, there's the picture on the wall there. That was just a side-scrolling space shooter for me until someone in the press said, no, this is a RPG light side-scrolling space shooter. I thought, flipping heck, it is as well, because it's got really complex power-up system in it, which is a bit like an RPG. So I used that in the marketing, and it got me a lot of sales and a lot of good reviews. That's because I hybridized the genre, I guess. I put genres together, and that's what you guys want to do for your games. I'm going to show you how I made Lowry Simulator. I'm going to literally just do a screencast of how I did the graphics, and very roughly in Photoshop. And you can slow it down and follow it if you want to try it yourself, that sort of thing. And how I, once I'd thrown the graphics into Scratch, how I coded bits of the game. And I didn't do it in the best possible way. I did it the way an artist would do it, messily. But you know, again, that's for you guys to kind of think about and decide on how you want to do it. I spent about half an hour making the assets and about half an hour coding the game, maybe about an hour coding the game. Scratch was quite limited for how I could do what I wanted to do, but I managed to find a rough way around it, and you'll see that in the video. Okay, so Lowry Simulator, I didn't really think about what genre it was when I was making it, when I was designing it, but thinking about it, well, it's a painting game, so we could probably say that. It's also a trade game, once the trade system's set up, which I don't do in my development video. But its title also says it's a simulator. You are simulating the lifestyle, I guess, of an artist. So we can say it's a painting and trading simulator. Oh look, 3 things that we can throw in. We could also say it's a point and click painting and trading simulator, full of things. You see what I mean? You get to call the shots on what your genre is, use your control system, and use the content of your game to define that. I've just called the shots on what Lowry Simulator is, which I'm quite happy about. Like I said, I'd like you guys to make your own game, your own ideas, but you know, if you're really stuck, you can try emulating what I'm doing and doing something similar. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through what I did. We know about the genre element of it. I'm going to talk you through what I did with this game, and next week we'll do the same thing, hopefully, if I finish it, for the Siege of Manchester game. Okay, let's have a look at the screencast. Okay, as you can see, I'm in Photoshop. Now, in this lesson, what I want to show you is how I made the assets for the Lowry Simulator, and I'm going to show you how I made the first prototype of the game. Now, this is the sort of level that you'd have to make something to. First of all, let's have a look. So my copy of Photoshop is probably a little bit different to the one in the college. It's probably a few years behind. It still does all the things it needs to do though. So you'll notice over here on the right, where my mouse is hopefully moving about, that you guys can see, I've got 2 projects. One is Lowry Simulator and one is Siege of Manchester. There's Siege of Manchester, I'll just hide that, we'll deal with that later. Here's Lowry Simulator, and I've hidden all the layers inside, but you'll notice I've got 3 layers. They're groups, that's the thing down here, this little thing here. You make one of them and it makes a new group. See, there it is. I'll undo that. Now, I made a group for the logo, a group for painting, and a group for selling. Selling screen looks like that, but I'm going to put the painting screen on, and I'm going to show you how this layer is made up. Just using these little arrows, I can open and close. I can change colors as well, so if I want to make sure I can see the painting screen, I can make it, I don't know, blue, and there you go. You can see Lowry Simulator is all lit up. I'm going to go to the paint screen in particular and make it violet. There we go. Okay, and now, so what we've got, if I close that, the Lowry Simulator is blue. Inside there, we've got the painting bit, and if we want, we can make the selling bit a different color, but we're going to use the painting group here with all the layers in. And I built this as I made it all, but I just want to show you how I built it. So first of all, I made a new image, found new, and I went to image, and I made this image a set size. You can see it takes ages starting off, but that's just getting going. Yours looks a bit more sophisticated than that. But I'm going to show you image size, I've done this at 800 by 600 pixels, mainly because I know that Scratch isn't that big. But if I ever wanted to make a slightly bigger version of this, I could. And also I know that 800 by 600 is the same ratios as Scratch, so I can shrink this down quite easily. Or it's very similar ratios to Scratch. I can shrink it down very easily. Let's see what I've done. First thing I did was I just made a blue background, and I literally filled this in blue, and then I grabbed from over here that there. That's the, what's it called, rectangular marquee tool. It's not coming up now, but there it is, rectangular marquee. And basically I just dragged across the picture. Of course it's not working now, there it is, like that. And then I just used the fill tool, which is this one here, paint bucket. It'll look like that for you. And I filled it in, so if I click on the layer and fill it in, you'll see I've just filled it in black, which is the colour I've got here. If I swap those colours around, it'll fill it in green. And I can change those colours by just clicking on that and change it to something else. Now I'll undo that. I filled in grey, light grey, and then I did a little dark grey bit there at the top to make like a shadow effect. It's a skirting board. And then here, I did that, and instead of using the fill tool, I used the gradient tool, and I just dragged it in a line. So if I go back to that layer and just drag it in a line, you'll notice it'll take the green and the black from my palette, and it'll blend between the two. And that's what I did, but I used black to grey. So that's how I did that. Very simple technique. Takes a bit of practice, of course. Then I went and found a picture of an easel, and I cut out the background. Now, if you look closely, you can see it's really rough. I'll hide the background. There you go, you can see it's really rough. Now I did it very quickly, and there's loads of little dots on it, and the reason for that is I put layer effects on. I'll take the layer effects off. Looks kind of fine there. If I double click it though, we can go to layer effects. Sometimes it's a bit slow. There it is, and I added a stroke to it. And now you okay that, and I turn them back on. And there you go, you can see this black line is the stroke. Now if you want to be more detailed, you can go in with something like this lasso here, polygonal lasso, and you can just take out all the bits that are showing up as black, like that. That's because there's little dots of pixels still on the layer that we couldn't see before, but now they've got black outlines we can. I'm just highlighting them, pressing delete, and see we could go around them if you want to and spend a bit of time on it, just cutting them out like that. I did do that later on, but not on this version, so double click it, and there we go, that'll come off pretty much. Okay, actual pixels. So you can do that all the way around and spend a bit of time, and a proper artist does. In fact, the proper artist would probably model this in 3D and render it and then use the render, or just draw it by hand. So we've got our easel, but I took a photo off the internet for speed and then just messed about with it. And that's what Photoshop's good for. Then I found a Lowry picture. So if I hide all the other layers, a Lowry picture, there it is, just one Lowry picture at random. And again, I put a stroke on it, see, around the edges. That just gives it a bit of depth and a bit of consistency with the style of the easel. Then I found a canvas, picture of a canvas, and I made it the same size as the painting. So watch this, there's the painting. I'll show the layer of the canvas, boosh, nice, isn't it? Just sits on top. If I hide the painting, you can see it just hides the outlines. So it took a little bit of care, and I went in, I zoomed in like that, and then I just used this marquee tool and cut off the sides. See, if I wanted to cut off a bit more, I could do that and press delete, and make sure I'm on the right layer, of course. There we go, press delete, and you can see it's cut off that bit of the canvas. So you can see the painting behind it, and that's how I got the side nice and sharp. So if I hide the painting, you can see the canvas is still missing a bit there. Now I'll undo that, because that's not what we want. There we go. Okay, now I basically built up an image of what the game's going to look like out of component parts in Photoshop. I then even took the canvas and did a version of it where I just rub out some detail to show you roughly what I want the game to look like. See, it's like you're painting away the canvas and the paintings underneath, which is exactly what's happening. But we can't really do it like that. I mean, that's not the impression we're trying to make. We're trying to make the impression that you're painting onto the canvas, of course, which it kind of works the same way if you don't know how the functionality works. Then we've got, so let's see, then we've got the how much complete it is. I've literally just stuck a bit of text in there, but we'd make that look nice later. And then we've got the HUD, which is when you complete, you can kind of press these arrows, and that goes back to, I guess, the sales room, and that goes to different paintings. And Ray decided it's just a rough idea, leaving some space. And then this is the mouse pointer, this is the hand. Literally found a picture of a hand on the internet, rubbed out the back of it there using the eraser tool. So if I go to that hand, and I'm on the eraser tool, make it a bit bigger, and then I can just do that, see, and it rubs out. And that's how I did that, and I quite like that. Same tricks as the easel there. Now I've made the main parts of the game that I want to show you. Now what I do then is I hide all my layers, because we've got to export each piece of this separately now as graphics. So that wants to be our background. Now first things first, Scratch is much smaller than this. Scratch is 360 by 480 by 360, I think it is. So image size, and just change the size, 480. Hey look, by 360, that's good. Okay, that, and it goes much smaller. Here it comes, here it comes. Oh, that's taking its time. There we go. Okay. Now you'll notice around the edges it's gone a bit faint. If you don't want that to happen, it's because the background image is trying to smartly reduce itself. Just make a copy of the background image to a new image like this. You'll notice the edges go nice and blue. And then Control E will flatten it down, and just do that again. And all it's doing is copying the layer on top of itself a few times, and that'll get rid of any see-through bits. So there you go. It's now a scratch-sized window with the background in it. And you'll notice everything else is shrunk as well. See, the easel is shrunk. You still got those little black marks, but we can get rid of them. We know how now. And the painting is shrunk, and so has the canvas. And that canvas with the see-through bits. That's just a demo though, that we don't need that. So has the font up at the top there, and so has the hood, and so has the little hand. See, smaller versions of it. So if I put in actual pixels, there it is in Scratch. That's what we want it to look like. Now we've got to get all these pieces off separately. So I'm going to start with the background, and all I'm going to do is take that and go File, Save As, and I'm going to save it as a PNG. And I'm going to save it in, yeah, we'll save it here. I'm going to call it background. There we go, that's a good name for it. Now I've already done this, of course. Actually, I'll tell you what, I've just left the hand in, so we need to take the hand out too. Let's do that again. Schoolboy error there, PNG. And you'll see the background's got the hand in it there. We don't want that. We OK that, and that'll save out just a hand. Now, all these other bits need smaller canvases, so we don't want that whole image there. What we do is we go Control A to select all. You'll see there's little marching ants around the sides. Control C, Control N, that's a new image. Control C, sorry, copies. Control N does a new image, and then Control V, paste it down. Now you'll notice the layer effects haven't come with it, and we want those outlines, so I'm going to get rid of that. And first of all, I'm going to make that black outline a part of the easel. So I'm going to go, where is it? Rasterize layer style. That means make the layer effects just pixels. Do that and it all becomes part of the image. Now, actual pixels. Control A to copy, to select all. Control C to copy. Control N for new image. OK that. And it does it automatically to the size of the brush that you've got copied. Control V, and there it is. Get rid of the white background because this is a PNG. It can handle see-through stuff. And then File, Save As, and I'm going to save that again as a PNG. And this time it's an easel. Easel. There we go. Lovely. Now back to our other image. You see the easel's up at the top here. I can close that now. I don't need it. Saving off all the bits separately, and then we need the picture. Again, same thing. Rasterize layer style to flatten the black border. You can see it's already selected all. Just make sure it's on the right layer over here. And then Control A, I've got Control A, Control C to copy, Control N for new image, and it's made an image the size of the picture. Control V to paste, and there it is. You'll notice if you look at the corner, there's a bit of white up in that corner. See it? That's because we need to get rid of the background. There we go. You'll notice all the edges have gone like see-through now with little checkered pattern behind it. That's a see-through pattern. So that's now see-through around the edges. File, Save As, and same again, PNG, and we'll call that Pick or Lowry1, because it's a Lowry painting. And we'll probably have more paintings in the game. That's the idea, that you're painting lots of paintings. OK that, and then close that. No, we don't need to save it as a PSD. And then finally, well not finally, last but not least, canvas. Control A, Control C, Control, oops, not V, Control N, and then Control V. Hide the white background, File, Save As, and you'll notice now, this is a process you do over and over again. This is what we call a workflow. Repeat processes that we get used to doing. Canvas. When you get a good workflow going, you start producing artwork fast. And that's what all experienced artists end up doing. That's what I do. That's why I'm working so fast. And then we want the hand. We don't need the text. We'll just use text in Scratch for now, but we do want a hand, so Control A to make sure we've got everything of the hand in there, Control C, Control N for a new image, and then Control V. You can see it makes the image the size of the hand. Got that lovely shadow effect. I made that by just painting in a layer underneath it, and then hide the white. See the shadow still there, and then File, Save As, PNG, and we'll call that cursor, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to go over the cursor, over the mouse. They call that cursor sometimes. There we go. Okay, that's Photoshop done. We've just saved all our images out, so if I go to the project, we can see we've got our PSD there, and we've got our background, our canvas, our cursor, our easel, our first Lowry painting. Oh look, there's a copy of the game that I made. Now, I've already imported all this stuff into the game, but I'm going to show you how to code it. You know how to import and place stuff. I'm going to show you how I coded it. Not that you have to do this, of course, but I will provide the Scratch file in case you want it as well. Okay, pause the video. Okay guys, so all I've done since I paused the video is opened up a Chrome browser, gone to Scratch, and now I'm loading in my LowrySim game that I saved from Scratch. Of course, I'm not going to show you how to code the game. I'm not going to show you the process because it took a couple of hours, and you'll see why. So I'll show you how the thing works. I had to make some compromises to this game. Scratch doesn't do, ironically, Scratch doesn't do scratch card style games. You just can't do it with Scratch. It doesn't have the capability to scratch through that canvas. So what we've got to do instead is set up a kind of a canvas of our own on a grid. Now you'll notice this isn't quite as detailed as the canvas I drew originally. If you look closely, you'll see it's tiled. Now there's 100 tiles in that grid, and that's a compromise I had to make. It won't run as nicely as I want it to either with Scratch. Let's have a look. So you can see it's got the complete thing up there, and look, this moves with the mouse, which is handy. That looks kind of nice. The shadow's a little bit dark, so I need to work on that. But the thing is, when I paint down, when I pen down, look what it does. Oh yeah, that's a bug as well. Scratch shouldn't do that, but it does. So it's a bit limited like this, but sometimes it'll randomly do that. But there you go. What I'm doing is I am painting away squares of the canvas. Now it's a massive compromise on what I wanted to do. But if you look at the percentage complete thing in the corner, it's going up 74%. I can see these bits here. I can see these bits here. Now, to make this harder, of course, you make the canvas pieces smaller. And the smaller the canvas squares are, the harder the game is. 94, so we've got 6 more to get. 2 more to get, 99, and there's the last one. Oh look, and now we can sell it. And that's the idea. The thing is, it's not as good, stop that, it's not as good as the game I wanted to make, but it's a compromise and we can improve on this. So even with just 100 pieces here, we could still make that look better, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But first of all, let's go through what's going on here, because have a look at that. There's 100 individual sprites. Now that is my bad coding. You could probably do this with instances, but I'll show you how I did it. I just had the idea, you see. So when the green flag's clicked, forever, that is telling the canvas picture here to go to the back layer and to set its X position to 2 and its Y position to 7. That's this X position and Y position is right in the middle here, and that's about where it needs to sit. If I drag it round now, you can see I can drag it round. If I press play, that code is setting it back to its position. Now it should do that all the time like it is now, but occasionally, if I release and click again, occasionally Scratch goes a bit slow and doesn't read this code over here on time to change the picture and to not pick it up. I mean, now you'll notice it's gone to the code for the brush. It's only a little bit of code. The picture of the brush here, it says when the green flag's clicked, forever, that's my dog's in the background, forever, so all the way through the game, bring the brush to the front layer and set it to the mouse pointer. Now later I'd probably find a way of hiding the mouse pointer so you can just see the hand, but right now we can't do that because I haven't got time. This is just a rough demo, although it would pass me. Let's have a look at the canvas, because that's where the main code is. Here's a piece of canvas. Now I think in the game it might be this piece in the top corner. We'll press play, we'll move the hand out of the way. In fact no, we'll press stop and we'll move the hand out of the way. There we go. Now if I click on this canvas here, That should be the first one. It looks like it's not taken. There it is. There it is. I'll just undo that if I can. No, I can't, but we can reposition that in a bit. In fact, if I press play, it should just do it. Maybe not. Okay, but that, I'll just move it over here. That first bit of canvas there carries this code. Now, every piece of that canvas carries a copy of this code. Let's have a look what it says. First of all, if I just run along this, you'll see the blue highlight is happening on the canvas. Each piece has got its own bit of code. Now, we could probably do that in code, so we're only coding one, and other copies will do whatever it says, but in different positions. But let's see what it says. You'll notice, first of all, in this corner, we've got these numbers here. That's its position on the screen. Now, I've just moved this one to where it should be, so I'm going to click on this next one here. That one. It says -110 on X, and Y is 122. So I know that Y on this, if I click on it, is going to be 122. 122. There it is. And it'll jump into place. See, it's in the right Y position. And now we can get the X position from this piece here. So we've got to find it. It's that one. And it says -142. And I had to work these out one by one. And that's where the time was. -142. There, see, it slotted into place. And I had to do, see these bits here, this and this, the X and Y, I had to do them one at a time for all 100. And, you know, don't get me wrong, it didn't take that long. It took me about 20 minutes or so to do it. But that was just the way I went about it. Did put one down, made a duplicate, used the Y position to do the next one, and then add. I think because this is 320 by 260, each one of these is 32 by 26. And that was just my method here. But let's have a look at what the code says at last. So when the green flag's clicked, set complete, which is this variable up here in the left corner of the game, to 0. And set clicked to 0. It's saying that this piece is not being clicked yet when you start the game. And also show the piece. Okay, so when you click the green flag, it sets complete to 0. See, it sets clicked to 0, so this piece hasn't been clicked, and it sets show to 0. Now you'll notice each one of these has got the clicked variable on it. If we go to variables, there's clicked. Now that, when you make a variable, you can make a variable for the whole game, or you can make a variable for just this sprite. Each one of these canvas sprites has got a clicked variable just for that sprite. That's called a local variable, or a private variable. It's just a variable that works for just this sprite and not anything else. Okay, that's what that means, and that carries out on through all games code in that. It's not just in Scratch. So we've got a clicked variable at 0 that says it's not been clicked, and a complete variable at 0 that says the painting is 0% complete. Every time you click one, guess what it's going to do? It's going to add 1 to the percentage. There's 100 of these. There's 100% to be added. So this is when the green flag's clicked forever. So all the time now. If clicked equals 0, which is the variable that says this is being clicked, then so it hasn't been clicked yet. If this sprite, this bit of canvas, is touching the mouse pointer, as in the end of the brush, and the mouse is down, then change complete by 1, add 1 to that there to complete, and that'll go up by 1. Hide this sprite and then set clicked to equal 1, because remember, this can only happen on this sprite if clicked equals 0, and if clicked equals 1, none of this can happen. And that's it. That's how that works. And then of course when you press the green flag again, it resets. Now we can reset it whenever we make a new painting as well, but just for this demo, that will do. It shows how the mechanics work. Every one of these has got that code on it, because it was just a copy of that code. Once I'd written the code, I just copied it 99 more times. And then you got this, when complete is more than 99, so when it's 100%, if it accidentally goes to 101 somehow, this will still work, and that's good. Then show the cell button, or else if it's under 99 or under, hide the cell button. That's all that says. How simple is that code? Well, let's have a look what it does again. So you start the game and you click it down, and look, I'm painting a sky. What a beautiful sky. Let's paint this building here, and let's work our way around and paint these buildings, and we'll paint these buildings. Now it works, but it's very blocky. Now even I don't mind the 100 pieces thing. That's a bit too big and bulky for my liking, but it works because these bits become quite challenging because they're against white, which is kind of cool. But paint you and paint you. There we go. lovely. Oh, we'll sell that. Of course, that button doesn't do anything yet, but that's okay. We're showing the game mechanics. Now, what you can do if you want to is you can make this canvas piece soft by going back into Photoshop. I will show you how I would do that, I think. So I'll take a piece of canvas, all copy, new, and this is if you want to get a bit more complex. 318 by 261. That's a funny little size actually. Now I made it the final thing. Let me do that now. Image size. We'll take this off because that'll lock the size. If it'll let me. Looks like it won't. Oh, I see. Constrain proportions. There we go. Now it'll work. 318. So we're going to change that to 320 because that can be divided by 10. And we're going to change this to 260. That's what I did on the one in game. And it looks like that. It looks pretty much the same. But you can see that is a picture of full canvas. Now what I did is I just took a section of canvas. I see that little numbers next to the thing I've just grabbed. 32 by 26. There we go. Copy that. New. Now I made this into a tile, which is quite a complex thing to do, but a good artist can do it. So there's a section. The problem is if I do a filter offset on this, other offset, and I'll offset it by half of its size. So it's 32, so I'll offset the width of it to 16. You might see a line start to happen. You can't actually, that's quite good. And I'll offset this by, it was 26, so I'll offset this by 13. Yeah, you can see that line, can't you? See there's a line there, there's also one there, but you can't really see that. I'm quite happy with that. So what I'll do now is I will undo that. I will alt copy, and then I will redo that filter. There it is. Redo the offset. Paste it down, and now I've got the offset version on top of the normal version. I'll just swap them around actually. The normal version's on the bottom, the offset version's on the top. And all I'm going to do is take this eraser, reduce it right down. I'm going to get rid of this bit across here. Take that eraser, make it quite small, and just do that. Get rid of that sharp line, and then put the original image in the background. There we go. That's pretty good. Now that will tile pretty well. But if you want to make it softer on the edges, here's what we do. Image, canvas size, not image size, canvas size. It's going to load, there it is. Okay, so we know it's 32 wide. We need to add 32 here and 32 here. So I'm going to go 64, 96, 96. Okay, and the same with the height is 26. So we're going to go 25 times 2, 75, 50, 75, 78, is that? 78? My maths isn't great, let's find out. Looks promising, doesn't it? Looks like we've got it. Okay, let's find out. So, Alt, copy, and I'm going to paste that. And then I'm just going to move it up by 1, 2, 3, or 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there we go. And then I'm going to do it again, all the way down to the bottom, like that. And then I'm going to do it again. And again. And what you can see I'm doing, and again, is I'm just making copies of the same tile all the way around it, basically. So there's 9 copies of that tile in total. And this is years of being an artist that it helps you kind of figure this stuff out. Okay, and now I'm going to flatten all of them down except for the middle one, like that. So we've got the middle one, and we've got a load around the sides. I'll also just hide the background. I'll use green as the background colour just so you can see it. So you can see which is a tile and which isn't. There we go. Now, I'm going to do this bit by hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the eraser brush bigger. And I'm just going to do this down the side of the tiles with the eraser brush. Like that, see? But to make sure it's straight, I'm going to put it about there. I'm going to hold shift. And now, if I move sideways, this doesn't change. See, it always stays where I put it. Same again there, shift. Oops, let's do that again. Click it down first, I think. Shift, and then do the same again. Just go up and down a couple of times, just make it kind of roughly the same amount of fade. And then at the top, click down, then go to shift, click, and just give that a bit of a click. Maybe a little higher up there. There we go. That's good, and then same here. Oops. sometimes if you don't click it first, it takes a line from the previous thing. So there we go. What we've got now is a tile surrounded by a fade. Now I haven't tried this in my copy of the game yet, but that creates a nice soft effect, see it? And that fade effect will help those squares in Scratch. So it will help these squares look all soft. Now I haven't tried it yet, but I know it'll work, because I've done stuff like this before. So let's go back to Photoshop. One other thing I want to do, and you can try, if you're doing this game idea, you can try this stuff. So I'm just going to take the corners out as well. I'm just going to do these by hand, like that, just to make it rounded a bit more. And if you've played any old RTSs like Command & Conquer or something like that, Red Alert, you will notice that the fog of war around gameplay looks a bit like this, like it's sprites with fades on it. And that's because they do stuff like this. So we've got our tile from before, and then we've just surrounded it with faded versions of the tile. Cool, eh? Now that's a little technique you can experiment with if you want to get good at Photoshop. Then of course you take the background off, and then you save that. Now I'm going to save it as a PSD, but not as a PNG, because I have not finished experimenting with that yet. Because of course that won't work for corners and sides. For corners and sides, and faded, you'd have to cut off areas for corners and sides. For example, if I wanted to do corners and sides, I would have to go, okay, I only want that bit. Oops, not that bit, that bit. So I'm going to go select invert, or shift control I, and then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go delete. See, and there's the top left corner, you know, because you don't want the faded bits around the top left corner. And that'll be different for that corner. And you've got to do that for all the corners and on all the sides. There's 4 corners, 4 sides. And then you've got to apply the right graphics to the right sprite. And here just replace the graphics by going to the canvas piece, go to its costume, add in one, the new one, and then deleting the old one, and that'll add it in there, and it should make the game look a bit better. Anyway, that's me getting a bit more complex with it, and that's the next step I would take given the time. And then of course I'd work on the sales bit and build the game from there basically. Now how much of that you can get done in the time you've got, I don't know, but that's basically how you make something like this. I also did, by the way, a logo for this game which sits in the game. There it is there. I literally found Larry's signature, painted over the top of it to make it look prettier, and then put simulator with a faded blue on it. It's kind of cool, isn't it? Took me all of 30 seconds like, but it works. Works a treat. I did put it in. Look, there it is. I thought I hadn't put it in. Okay, so that is basically how I've made the Lowry simulator. I thought I'd share that with you. And there it is. Most importantly, don't feel obliged to use Photoshop. I know some of you guys really wanted to have a crack at it, so I thought while I'm working at home, I would show you how I would do something like that in Photoshop. If you're more comfortable in Piskel, you use Piskel. So that was using one of my historical game ideas to give you an idea of genre. And also, I just wanted to show you how I made it. Now, between now and next session, I'm going to have a go at making a very rough version of that Battle of Manchester, Siege of Manchester. Still haven't decided what to call it yet. What I want you to do this week, we're not officially starting any of our tasks yet, but have a look at the first worksheet this week and start researching historical events that affected Salford in particular, and see how many you can find. You're only going to need to write 3 onto this document, and you're only going to need to make a prototype of one of them. But if you can find like 5 events that might influence the game you're going to make, that's something to be getting on with this week. Get a bit of paper out or a notepad on your computer, whatever you want to use, and find me 5 historic events that happened in and around Salford. Remember, 4 of them can be a bit rubbish, because what you're doing is you're showing how you're considering and you're discarding some of those events as being a bit rubbish. Okay, that's what I want you to do for kind of homework this week, I guess. Next week we'll take it a step further. You also might want to see if you can get a copy of Photoshop working, even if it's a trial version, if you want to experiment with more sophisticated graphics. Okay. We'll do live lessons as usual, so make sure you turn up to them if you want a bit of help. And I will see you next week for the next session. Have a good one.